Hi, this video is going to be a bit lower key than my normal ones. It's nice to take a break from the big projects and just kind of do something like this. What you're seeing in the background here is actually my trip recently on the California Zephyr in September of 2022. Fantastic trip. The only thing that was kind of weird was we went through a forest fire in California. Not in the fire, but through the smoke. So I got some like really neat visuals and whatnot, but it also was just so smoky and everything smelled like smoke. When I got to Denver, I had to wash my clothes. But the Zephyr was really nice. Amtrak employees on the train, of course, nice as always. Rarely do you ever have like bad Amtrak employees. As much as people shit on Amtrak, it's one of the public services the country still has that, in my opinion, is still really good. Especially the people that run it, because the people that run it on the trains generally know that there's only so much they can do, and because of that, they're really down to earth to the people that do ride the trains. And it's just it's as frustrating as everyone else. I mean, crews have to deal with the same problems you do. They don't want to be late. They want to clock out on time, and they hate being late. They don't want to make people mad or angry. They want to show up on time. My California Zephyr train was only 45 minutes late to Denver, and that's like 26 hours or something like that from Emeryville, so it's not terrible. And the only reason it was late was because when we were coming through out of Moffett Tunnel and then down the pass to Denver, there was some like boulder falling rocks issues, and that just delayed our train by, I think, like we got like a 10 mile an hour, 15 mile an hour speed restriction. And I would have been mad about this, but because you're on sort of this long distance cruise ship type train, I had dinner, and then B, went to the observation car. And since we're coming down the valley into Denver, we're like 1,000 feet above Denver, seeing everything from above, it was like an incredible view. And of course, I just walk to the snack bar under the observation car and just get 2 White Claws and just sit there and kind of watch the scenery go by. So I definitely suggest the Zephyr and any of the long distance Amtrak trains always. It's just, obviously it's going to be better if you have a sleeper. The sleeper attendants are awesome too. I had a great one. Forgetting her name, my apologies. But yeah, low-key video that I kind of wanted to just talk about things. So yeah, it's been a while since I've made one of these talking videos. The last one was me sitting in a yard when it was fall, I think last year, or I'd have to check. Last year would make sense though. But a lot has changed since then, not only with the world, but with me. Obviously, YouTube has sort of taken off since then. It's changed in a lot of ways for me. YouTube, obviously, I got the plaque, which was one of those things when I got the email for it, I didn't really think about it. And then when I got the plaque, I was like, oh wow, this is cool. I've seen like all the other YouTubers have it. It's neat. And I had to hang it up. It didn't really faze me that much because, like, at this point, I kind of see YouTube as a job, or less of a job and more of a way to express views that are much needed in the world that are not being conveyed in a way that I want. But yeah, when I got that plaque, I didn't really think much about it, other than like I hung it up and I kind of smiled a little bit. But it only hits me when like someone else that's not doing this comes over and sees it, and they're like, oh wow, that's a YouTube plaque or whatever, and they're like reminded of what I do, and then they remind me, and I'm like, yeah, it is pretty neat, it's unique. For me, it's more like it's like the job thing. But yeah, when someone says that to me, they're like, that's so unique, and I'm like, yeah, this is a pretty unique job to do, I think about it. And it's kind of hard to explain. It's becoming a little bit more mainstream than it was like 5-6 years ago. Oh dear God, if I was doing it back then. And because of this, this year, like last year in the pandemic, I'm sure a lot of you felt this. Every day felt slow, but the years felt fast. They went by really fast, and it's because like not much was happening. At least this year for me, 2022, and I guess I consider less of years and more of my birthday calendar type deal. The year of me being 26 went really slow. And that's a good thing, obviously. You don't want your years to go fast. And it went slow for a lot of different reasons. One, I started a job here in Philadelphia. I worked with them for about 4.5 months. And then I went part-time with them and started YouTube full-time. And I moved to Philadelphia. I started and stopped a bunch of different projects. It just a bunch of different things. And I got to go on a bunch of trips and meet a bunch of people. And a bunch of cool people that I would not have met otherwise. Yeah, it's interesting with YouTube though. I find like compared to my office job and other jobs I've had before, there's a different kind of stress that YouTube generates that's different from a normal job. See, a normal job, you'd be worried about getting into work or how your boss like perceives you, or deadlines for like a project, for example. Generally, there are specific things that you have stress about for work. For me, I've worked in offices, I've done manual labor jobs. Those are different kinds of stress than what YouTube does, because what YouTube does is more of a lower stress level in general, but the thing is that there is a constant thing in the back of your brain that's pushing you to be like, what's the next thing to work on? What's the next thing to do? What's the next thing I should be focusing on? There's no like downtime. Unless you have a good reserve of something with videos or just even money, it's like you can't stop. There's always something you have to be focusing on next because you are your boss. And even if it doesn't look like I'm putting out videos, I'm working on something or stressing about something in the background. And it's just different. So with every job, there are downsides, and that's definitely one of the downsides to doing stuff on YouTube, or freelance in general, I should say. So that's self-employment. Otherwise, YouTube is odd in the way of fame is kind of weird. I'm still the same person I was before and after I've done this channel. But once in a while nowadays, someone comes up to me and they'll talk to me in public or recognize me in public or something. And it's just like, that's kind of nice. But at the same time, it's like you definitely don't have the anonymity that you could choose otherwise if you didn't have such a public face of like a channel or something. So it's definitely something you have to a little bit give up. But some people like that. I mean, I don't mind it. I'm an extrovert. I don't mind it. And I don't mind the whole like online stuff that a lot of people complain about. What else do we have on this list? Yeah, I wrote down here that I'm not feeling as creative as the past. That's kind of true. It's hard because like when you have done a bunch of projects and then you have to compare yourself to past projects, you're not only comparing yourself to a singular past project, you're comparing yourself to all of your past projects. So when you make a new thing or a new video or whatever, you're comparing yourself to not only one of the good projects that you did, but all of them. And for some reason your brain goes, well, I have to make something even better now, even though that's not possible most of the time, especially with the time constraints we're given for videos, because generally you need to have something out every like 2 to 3 weeks, or else, or at least for me, it doesn't work. So, you need some other things. If you're ever doing a freelance job, you need other things to focus on other than just your job, because otherwise you will go insane. And for me, the two things that I'm focusing on now is going to the gym, because lifting refined metal is fun apparently. It's not, but it's nice to once in a while look in the mirror and be like, I don't hate that. And then the other is to have like some hobbies and groups that you can go to, which are a lot of fun. And for me, there's a model railroad club or technically above Philadelphia that I go to, just take regional rail to, and a bunch of cool people there. Of course, I have some other friend groups that I always enjoy, but the model railroad club has been the new thing that I've been enjoying. But with other projects, I eventually do want to do a podcast, and I've been like putting stuff together to get something to happen, and it's probably going to be about like general infrastructure projects, or it's going to be a general news sort of format podcast about infrastructure projects happening around the world, but obviously from a different view than your normal media perspective. Obviously, it's going to have the twist of me and whoever my compatriot in talking about very boring subjects and trying to make them interesting. So, and of course, there are other projects coming. If you saw that I was in September, sometime earlier this, or not in September, if you saw sometime I was in California earlier this fall, I was in San Francisco in the Bay Area, and luckily I was able to go behind the scenes on a system there. So you'll be seeing a video very soon, probably on one of the systems in that area. So that's definitely a project that's coming. There are a lot of other things, and one of the bigger projects I'm going to put out, and if any of you have been paying any sort of attention to what I've been saying online, is the Glassboro-Camden line, which is a line in South Jersey. So I'm putting something together for that. That's been sort of always a goal for me, is that I want that goddamn train built. I don't really care at this point that it's not a PACO extension. It just needs to be there. That area is so underserved with buses compared to what it should be. So you'll be seeing something eventually on that. I'm just debating on the format of how I want to do that video, because there's a few different ways I want to do it. Yeah, there's a few film projects I want to do eventually too, which I have some friends that will probably help me with. Otherwise, you'll just get sort of the vibe of the general videos you're getting now. There will be some other bigger projects, longer projects coming with more art, which will be a lot of fun, that I'm collabing with a few friends that do way better art than me on. And speaking of that, there will be more music mixes coming. Obviously, I would also at some point like to do some music of my own, maybe start with like parodies and then go into some of my own stuff. But I have a few ideas for that. Part of the whole thing with YouTube, and part of the problem with like me comparing myself often to our channels, is other channels don't really care what the subjects of their videos are on, or they don't really care if they make something that is kind of derivative. And that bugs me if I ever do that. I can't really do something that someone's ever done, or if I do something that someone else has covered before, it has to be like wildly different or from a wildly different angle than how they've done it. Because I hate covering something that someone else has done and then you have to act like it's new, but in the back of your mind, you know it's not. There are some other channels, I won't name names, that do stuff like this. But it just drives me wild. Like, it's like you have all this creative freedom in the world and you're going to do that? Don't be derivative. Don't copy, whatever. And yeah, it's sort of like, I get it. I get it's for a job and it's an easy buck if you can do it correctly. But man, I don't want to do that. It's tough because like my channel, I would consider a policy creator channel, where it's like you talk about like policy and the overgeneral view of why things are wrong. Specifically with mine, it has to just do with transportation and a lot of that general nonsense. And it's hard because with that type of video, you have to be like revolutionary in every video, or else a lot of people just won't be inspired, or you have to talk about something in a different way or angle, or else people won't pay attention because it's just like, I've heard this before. I've heard this talking point before. So like the worst aspect of me is I hate writing, and then all my videos are dependent on creative writing. It sucks. I deal with it, whatever. So, but that's my only complaint with what I do, or one of my only complaints, is that like half the time I just have to sit there and think like, how do I approach this? and that doesn't feel like work to me, but it is. I know it is, and it's an important part of the process, but it doesn't feel like typical work. And yeah, I don't know. Just thinking out loud there. But yeah, no, I'm excited for the rest of this year. There's a few more trips and stuff I have before the end of the year. Next year, I'm trying to plan some sort of Euro trip so I can see all my nerds and dorks in Europe and see all the systems and other things there. Otherwise, yeah, there's some big stuff coming next year, and it's hard to plan out stuff more than like 3 or 4 months because you never know what's going to come up beforehand. Otherwise, it's been a wild ride with everyone, and I always want to say, like, thank you for giving me this great opportunity for this great platform. Either way, have a good day, and I will see y'all in the next video.